At just 5 years old, Michael Jackson stepped up to a microphone and sang with a depth of emotion that most adults never reach. But outside of those fleeting moments of musical freedom, his reality was incredibly confined. He was the eighth of 10 children in a working-class Black family living in the industrial steel town of Gary, Indiana. All 12 members of the Jackson family shared a single two-bedroom house. The physical constraints were overwhelming, with kids sleeping in triple bunk beds and finding almost nowhere to simply be alone. That claustrophobia was compounded by the strict discipline of his father, Joseph Jackson. Joseph saw music as the only viable exit from poverty, enforcing 5 hours of grueling mandatory rehearsals every single day after school, and often punishing mistakes with physical violence. While neighborhood kids played outside or celebrated Christmas and birthdays, Michael and his brothers were locked inside, practicing until their routines were flawless. This relentless environment engineered an astonishingly precise artistic work ethic. It gave the world a musical genius, but it required a brutal exchange. Michael forfeited the chance to actually be a child. By 1969, that exhaustive training paid off. The brothers formed the Jackson 5, signed with Motown Records, and quickly began releasing a streak of #1 hits, with young Michael singing lead. The group relocated to Los Angeles, leaving their Midwest roots behind. As their fame exploded, Michael found himself surrounded entirely by adults, bodyguards, and screaming fans, completely isolated from anyone his own age. Today, psychologists often refer to a phenomenon known as Peter Pan syndrome. When a person is denied the normal developmental stages of youth, they often spend their adult years subconsciously trying to recreate the childhood they missed. His massive global stardom rested directly on a foundation of severe isolation. He grew into a highly capable, world-famous adult who still harbored the desperate, unfulfilled needs of a young boy. When Michael transitioned into a full-fledged solo artist, the stage became his domain. He introduced physical movements like the robot and the moonwalk to global audiences, performing with a visible joy and precision that captivated millions. This chart compares the commercial performance of a typical hit pop album in the 1980s to the 1982 release of Thriller. Thriller completely shatters the scale, pushing past 27 million sales to become the highest-selling album in history. Those staggering numbers gave him immense industry leverage. He used that economic power to force his music videos onto MTV, shattering the racial barrier that had previously kept Black artists off mainstream television networks. With hit after hit dominating the radio and screens across the globe, he earned an undisputed title, the King of Pop. Under the stage lights, he projected absolute control, invincibility, and perfection. But that towering public persona effectively masked the deep, growing vulnerabilities present in his private life. Seeking an escape from reality, he purchased a sprawling property in California and transformed it into Neverland Ranch, a private amusement park complete with rides and exotic animals, meticulously designed to simulate the childhood he never had. He filled this isolated compound with young visitors. This highly unusual lifestyle ultimately triggered severe allegations of child sexual abuse, first resulting in an out-of-court settlement in 1993, and then returning as massive criminal charges in 2005. The 2005 trial became a relentless international spectacle. For months, cameras documented every moment as he faced 10 distinct criminal charges and agonizing daily public scrutiny. A jury eventually acquitted him of all charges. However, the years of extensive litigation drained his finances, leaving him deeply in debt and severely dependent on prescription painkillers. His lifelong attempt to manifest a physical Peter Pan fantasy had collapsed into a brutal reality, leaving his public image fractured and his physical health in severe decline. By early 2009, facing immense financial pressure and a strong desire for personal vindication, Michael announced a massive comeback residency at London's O2 Arena, titled This Is It. The promoters initially planned a run of 10 concerts, but public demand was so overwhelming that the schedule was rapidly expanded to 50 shows, with more than 750,000 tickets selling out in a matter of hours. Preparing for a 50-date arena tour required an intense, grueling rehearsal schedule in Los Angeles. The production demanded high-energy choreography that placed an enormous strain on his frail, 50-year-old body. The physical and mental toll proved fatal. On June 25, 2009, just weeks before opening night, Michael died from acute propofol intoxication, administered by his personal physician to help him sleep. His final push to reclaim his crown demonstrated his relentless drive for perfection and deep devotion to his fans. It also pushed his body far past its breaking point. The news of his sudden death triggered a global outpouring of grief. Millions of fans gathered at spontaneous memorials around the world to mourn the loss of a musical giant. He left behind an artistic footprint that introduced cinematic storytelling to music videos, elevated street dance to global stages, and rewrote the commercial limits of pop music. But his life also serves as a stark cautionary tale. The glittering armor of a rhinestone glove and millions of records sold could never substitute for a stable, healthy mental foundation. Michael Jackson gave the world unparalleled magic and joy. His ultimate tragedy was being the boy who sacrificed everything for the stage, yet could never find peace once the lights turned off.